So, I challenged her to call him up, put him on speakerphone, and while acting like it was just another casual call, point-blank confirm her belief by asking him if he truly was in love with her and would come get her right now because things had gone south and I had discovered the affair. My wife of 10 years and I had a very good married life together. Or so I thought. No financial worries, a terrific 4-year-old son, and a fairly good sex life with the exception that I often expressed a desire to try new things, anal among other things less naughty, and get more creative sexually overall as a couple. She said she was not interested in being kinky, and that she liked things the way they were. She also said she felt that different positions and sex talk in bed also made her feel uncomfortable and whorish. I decided to pick my battles and let it slide since every other part of our marriage was pretty great. We were attentive and affectionate with each other, had date nights, remembered important anniversaries, etc. But, with the loss of one of her beloved aunts and increased work responsibilities, she'd suddenly begun wondering if maybe she'd lost her identity and independence somewhere over the years while becoming a mom and career woman. I told her I was sorry she felt that way and asked if I could help her find herself, feel better, etc. Her reply was that someone as confident as I was couldn't possibly understand what she was going through. Still, I endeavored to help where I could, but to no avail. Then, 23 months ago, I discovered my wife was cheating on me. She had been acting unusually distant and started bathing instead of showering so she could text on her phone. She said it was to a girlfriend who needed her support. She also had started working out, losing weight, new haircut, new sexier clothes, etc. Plenty of red flags and enough to convince me to investigate. She said that she needed to decompress from being a working mom and was going to visit an old girlfriend. I helped her pack and left a love note in her suitcase to let her know that I'd miss her and loved her. I hoped that I was imagining things and was mistaken. I couldn't believe that she would betray me that way. Nonetheless, I checked her mileage on her car and noticed a huge discrepancy in the miles needed to get to and from her girlfriend's home. This was troubling since she had told me that she had driven straight there and that she and the friend had gone nowhere but in the friend's car. With this revelation, I decided to place a keylogger on her laptop. What I discovered left me crippled and devastated. I discovered that she had met an old boyfriend on Facebook a few months prior, quickly entered the affair fog, moving on to a physical one very quickly. I also was able to access her cell phone when she was in the shower one day and send copies to myself of conversations with her lover. She evidently had delighted in obliging him his favorite fantasies. Foremost among these, anal. Evidently his wife wasn't interested in it and my wife wanted badly to fill that void for him. As a means of keeping him interested and excited, she had sent him videos of herself pleasuring herself, progressing later into her giving him permission to actually make videos of their said encounters. I discovered some of them he had sent her, along with sext messages discussing their plans for their next meetup, during my search. Each time, he would follow up and send her an MP3 of some love song he said reminded him of her, followed by how much he cared about her and how great the encounter was, and how nice her butt was, etc. What strangely hurt me initially was how readily/willingly she just was to try new things sexually with this idiot. Gone was the reluctant, rather sexually conservative wife I had known. This creature was very sexual, submissive, and willing to try anything, yes. Just about anything, that would please him. Even the previously dreaded act. Initially she denied everything. Told me how angry she was that I was accusing her and how I was being paranoid. So, I showed her my evidence. She was plainly stunned and shaken. Her face turned ashen. She began to sob and mumble something about how she was so sorry and that the affair was something that had just happened. I'll admit I was angry, enraged even. I verbally let her have it and called her every hurtful thing I could think of. Then exhausted, I just sat down on the ground and wept. I had plenty of chances to cheat over the years and never took the bait. I simply loved her too much and would never have risked the good thing we had. For her, betrayal was easier. But, I was also sure from reading her AP's texts, that he was plainly using her to fill the void in his own marital sex life. My wife quickly responded with a resounding no to that idea. She was convinced that he loved her, would give it all up eventually for her, and would stand by her even now. So, I challenged her to call him up, put him on speakerphone, and while acting like it was just another casual call, point blank confirm her belief by asking him if he truly was in love with her and would come get her right now because things had gone south and I had discovered the affair. As expected, the coward went immediately into damage control. He told her that he did care about her but that he felt uncomfortable with the words, "in love." He said that what they had was good while it lasted but it would be best if they got back to focusing on their own marriages. He followed up with a kind of stuttered, "I'm sorry," and begged her to not tell me who or where he was. Though still beyond angry, I couldn't help but almost feel sorry for my wife when I saw the look of total despair and abandonment on her face from realizing that this man had told her anything just to use her. Worse I think was that she knew that she had done so in such a willing way. And even worse still was the fact that I had seen exactly how she had been with him sexually, and also had heard the things she had said during her encounters, including the loving remarks that hurt me to my core. Before he hung up on her, I picked up the other line and told him to call me on my cell to talk. That if he didn't, I would immediately share all I had at my disposal with every friend, coworker, and family member. In short, I would expose him entirely. He called. He was frantic, obviously worried. He begged me to reconsider, to think of his wife and child. In that desperate moment I asked him several questions about the affair. He was so afraid and shaken that he willingly verified other things that I had suspected but had not had the proof of: hotel visits, dates, number of times they met to sleep together, etc., never once suspecting that the whole time I was recording him with an app on my phone. For a moment, I could tell that he thought I'd relax a bit and maybe just decide to move on. But, I assured him that I understood that my wife had betrayed me. That it was not all his fault. Nevertheless, the fact remained that he had interfered in my marriage. He initiated the contact. He started the affair in motion and was more in control of his emotions. In short, he fully knew what he was doing. He used and manipulated my wife for his own sexual deficits at home. Yes, she had been emotional and stupid, but he had been calculating, and when he came to that crossroad of decisions, he had chosen to interject himself into my marriage, my life. And for that there would be no reconsideration, no mercy from me to him. I told him that I would utterly destroy him. I would blow up his life. And, so, in time, I did. Suffice it to say that when it was over, everyone in his life knew what a waste of human flesh he was. In seeking justice, and yes, revenge too, I notified his wife. She experienced the same devastation I had. The next day, when her head was clearer, she sent me the rest of his videos she discovered, copies of sexts, etc., and I sent her what I had. My curiosity and hunger to learn everything I could about what happened to me prevailed over the sickening feeling I had about watching my wife's videos. The videos were like watching a different person. She was literally begging him to penetrate her everywhere, allowing him to ejaculate all over her face and then perform for the camera by telling him how good it was, etc. When I discussed it with her, she claimed she had forgotten acting like that and felt like she had been someone else during the filming. Saying he'd promised to delete them after viewing them once, and though the video had been destroyed on his end, oops. I asked her why she'd never been like that with me, and she said it was because she had enjoyed our normal sex with each other and the intimacy more. And had done all the crazy, as she called it, because she just wanted so badly to please him more than his wife, and that the prospect/challenge of it excited something inside her more than she had ever expected it to. She admitted to being ashamed, embarrassed, regretful. She begged me not to leave her and to work on our marriage. We sought counseling. I didn't want to throw years of building a life together away without trying. In the years since, she has worked very hard to make our marriage her top priority. She constantly does whatever it takes to be transparent and account for her time. She knows that I even now sometimes need her to drop everything and reassure me when something triggers the movies in my head. However, as much as I've forgiven her, and deeply love this woman, I will never forget those videos and how she treated him in them. How she gave more of herself sexually to him than to me. She says she's depressed over not being able to recreate the same level of intense sex play in our marriage for us. She claims it was because the affair was a new, exciting, forbidden fruit type of relationship, and what we have is much deeper, and satisfying, but less exciting, because we are not novel to each other. She says she's sorry for that and sorry that I feel that her affair partner was treated better in bed than I was or am even now. What she doesn't seem to grasp is that for most men, I think that physical love is huge in our relationships with our lover and wives, and when another male is given so much more access to our wives' sexual self, it can be nearly insurmountable and that it will always leave us feeling like we are number two, since number one, the AP, was given so much more over-the-top acts. Especially if, as she says, nothing like it can be recreated for me. So it's back to vanilla sex play like before, albeit with all her love and affection, or at least that's her take on it. My take? It sucks to be a cuck. My question is this. How on earth am I to ever to get these images out of my head? On one hand, I'm glad I watched the videos because my imagination would have been far worse, that I'm sure of. At least I know that her lover was not an Adonis, but a portly guy, and an awful lover, very little foreplay and a small package. Nonetheless, the images persist, though not as often as they did in the beginning. Any suggestions on how to eradicate them? Any real, mature advice would be greatly appreciated. My 4-year affair partner ended it. I am in my 50s and so is he. The lovemaking was the best ever. Yes, I met him on Ashley Madison. He was in a sexless marriage. I didn't believe him at first, but he told me everything on our first date. He lives in another state but traveled here on business. He lived with the wife 1 week, then here with me 1 week. We spent many nights together. Oral, prostate massage, 6 hours non-stop plus such loving conversations. Okay. I get I will never find another. His wife, who thought sex was totally unimportant, busted him. He called, said it's over and hung up on me. This man told me non-stop he was in love with me. Yes, I got too invested. I know. Anyway, he emailed me the next day and apologized profusely and said his wife was in the room and it was suggested by the counselor. He told me not to contact him back. He also told me that since his wife found out, she's offering herself 24/7. I wanted to share him. Always told him that. I would have been his second wife in a minute and I feel like I was. He asked for an open marriage though and she said no. I originally posted on Dead Bedroom, but the kind people over there told me to post here. I will not contact him and he knows I only ever wanted him to be happy. Does anybody who has been in my position know if I'll ever hear from him again? I'm just so hurt. Thank you. I didn't want an affair, I fell in love, I lost her, and I can't move on. Help/advice please. I'm looking for advice from someone who's been there or similar. I had an emotional affair, lightly physical too, with a girl at work. Neither of us were looking for one, but were both unhappy in our current relationships. We got chatting and formed an instant connection. I am married, no kids, and when she realized she was getting feelings for me, she ended her relationship with her boyfriend at the time. The affair continued for around a year until I felt so guilty about hurting my wife and my coworker I thought it should end. Despite me loving my coworker and her making me feel like no one else ever had, not hard as I don't have a big list of exes, I said we needed to end it but didn't really want to. Things carried on, although we argued a lot more as my affair partner was obviously hurt. I was so torn between what to do. Leave my wife for a relationship with a girl based around I am, or stay with my wife where I was unhappy. Around July 2016, my affair partner announced suddenly that she thought she was over me and was beginning to see someone else. I was devastated as I had tried to convince myself I didn't love her and tried not to hurt anyone, and in doing so hurt everyone. I told my wife everything and moved out in September 2016 to my parents, where I am currently living, to try and clear my head. Having to see my AP move on with her life and be happy every day kills me. I am looking for a new job, but it is tough going. My wife says she forgives me and loves me and wants to make it work, but I just cannot say the same. My thoughts still turn to my ex-AP multiple times a day. I guess having to see her doesn't help. I feel like this whole process has broken my brain. I cannot stop thinking about my AP to the point of obsession, even now 6 months on since she got her new boyfriend, and having tried therapy, meditation, and lots of other things. I just don't feel like I'll ever lead a normal life again. To people who have experienced this or similar, will I ever be able to have a normal relationship again? Coming down from the highs of an affair with someone who I feel I had an amazing connection with have just seemed to render the rest of my life as pointless. I have read so many things about how it was based on fantasy, limerence, I didn't really know her, etc., and tried so much to work on loving me as a person, but nothing seems to work. I know I am not a victim in this, my wife is, but I just want to hear from anyone else that's been in a similar situation. Broke it off with AP to try and do the right thing and regretted it every day since. How did things work out? Did you find someone new? Do normal relationships still feel as good? I have learned a lot from this whole thing and will never make these mistakes again. I just want to move on with my life, but I am so stuck. Thanks for listening. It's been over a year since I have heard/talked to my former AP. His wife found out, and at the time I wasn't ready to deal with changing my life so drastically. We like you were co-workers. Unlike your situation though, he left the position suddenly after his wife found out about his activities. Long story, I was the one who initially stopped contact. I was afraid of what this situation would do to my career and my family. I reached out to him again about 2 months after it ended to apologize for my ghosting him. We agreed to meet to talk. The day came and I again put work ahead of my AP. We spoke once on the phone since then. I, like you, tried to put my life back together. Unfortunately, there isn't a day that goes by that I don't think of my former affair partner. I also have tried therapy, filling up my time with the gym, something he always encouraged, work obsessively, focus on bettering myself. Nothing has worked for me. I feel as though nothing will compare to what AP and I shared. It wasn't all roses, we fought, but we always resolved our issues through communication. Honestly, if we had put the effort into either of our respective marriages instead of into each other, we might have been happier in them than outside of them. I know that what AP and I had was a fantasy, a world without the everyday stress of kids, housework and life's obligations. But I truly believe that the skills we learned through having to communicate and compromise through our affair would have set us up for success if I wasn't so fearful of the unknown. So, like you, I have learned to not forget but compartmentalize my feelings that I still have for my AP. To remind myself that I did try to give him all the love I had in the time we had together. So that he knew that he was special, that I adored every part of him, even the parts he hated about himself, that he was worth everything and that he could do anything, not to compare himself to others, to live his best life and to be happy and let happiness surround him. My last words to him were, I love you always, and even if I never see or speak to him again, I remind myself that the last time we spoke I made sure he was left with my truest feelings. I know now that I will always love him and I will always think of him. So, leave your life knowing that she loves you. Like others in this thread have echoed, she will love you always. I hope it gets better for you. You just have to leave one day at a time. For me, I also send my love for him out into the universe by making sure I am doing what makes me happy. Because I know that is what he always wanted for me. Do I hope that we will one day meet again? Yes. Do I hope that we will run into each other and it will be like nothing changed? Of course. No one knows what the future holds. No one is telling you can't love her. So go out into the world not denying that love but accepting it and cherishing it. Radiate it into the world. This too shall pass.